Hi friends, welcome to WebChamp. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the interview, one of the SQL interview question, that is what is a store procedure in SQL. So normally we write the queries to fetch the data from the database. Let's say you may want to write the dynamic query because every time you cannot go, meaning you don't want to go and apply the filters, change the filters or update the where clauses, right? So in that case, what you can do is you can create a store procedure and whatever the logic you wants to build, you will build in that store procedure, and that will be saved on the database as an object. The store procedure will be pre-compiled, meaning every time that is not the code what you are going to execute, that will not be compiled. So every time compilation happens, means that is going to consume some amount of time that will be saved by you. So this improves the performance, right? So obviously to improve the performance, even hide the business logic, how you derive the output, you can hide that. No one will get to know what the code is written, how the code is written. They will simply use or follow the instructions what how to use the store procedure. And again, one more point is that it increases the security. It prevents the SQL injection by using the parameterized query. Even access control can be applied. So you can build the logic in the store procedure to control the access or allowing only specific users to execute the certain procedure. So this is what we can do in store procedure. Meaning we are going to enhance the security of the database using the store procedure. Then let's say code reusability and maintainability. Once you create the store procedure, that can be used by the many users to read the data. Everyone do not need to write the same query. Every time compilation is not going to happen. And one person will go and maintain. So it is easy to maintain and update that store procedure because that will be a centralized business logic. And same store procedure can be used across the multiple applications, right? So now we will see how we can create a store procedure. So here, obviously, if you want to create something in the database, you are going to use the create command, create. Then we don't have the object like store procedure. We call it as a store procedure, but while creating, we will only use the procedure. So I'll say create procedure. This is fine. The procedure is going to create. Then you can give the name. So I will say get. Okay, so I don't have data in my database, but let me say get employee. Okay, this is what the store procedure. Then I will say as. Okay, so we are going to use the alias because what to store in this you are supposed to define. Since this is a transactional statement, we will begin and end. We will use the begin and end. And in between, whatever the logic you will build, that will be stored as an store procedure in the database. So here, I would like to get the list of employees. So what I will do, I will say select, then star. If you want to select the specific columns, you can specify the name of column from the database table dbo dot, let's say employee. So this is your very, very basic store procedure. And if someone wants to call it, how they can do is they will say and execute. In MySQL, you may need to use the call expression or call statement or call command to call the store procedure. Here I will say get employee. Okay. Anybody can use this, meaning the person who has access to the database and store procedure, they can use or they can execute this much command, they will get the data. Okay. So inside this, you can build the logic to bring the data from multiple tables. You can perform the joins. You can filter out the data as per the business requirement. Everything will be encapsulated. Nobody will see what you have done. What they wants to do, or they want as an output, they will get from by executing this statement. Entire logic will be developed in this store procedure and stored. Right. So this is how a store procedure is created, and then we can execute by using execute command. Let's say you may want to drop the store procedure. You can say drop procedure and then get the name. Okay, get employee. This is what the command you can use to drop the procedure. But we are not done yet with the store procedures actual or important things. So here there is something called store procedure with parameter. So the problem here, if you look that I am getting the data for all the employee, I don't want that. I want to fetch the data for a specific employee. In that case, how we can do? Right. So obviously we know that what we can do in SQL, we can use the command called where, and then I will say employee ID is equal to, and here we are going to specify the ID. But I want to pass this ID as a parameter so that everyone can use, or this store procedure can be used for the different employees. Same procedure, same compilation, the compiled code, but the output will be different. Can I say this is what the dynamic query we can build? So yes, this is possible in store procedure. So what you can do, you can create a variable, then I will say ID, then define the type of variable, that int, and meaning at the time of calling, you will specify, you will go and you will specify the ID of employee to fetch the record. I would like to use this ID instead of this static employee ID. And now here at the time of calling, you are supposed to pass the value, right? So this execution will fetch the data for this employee ID. If someone enters the different employee ID, it will fetch the data for that specific employee ID. Right. So this is nothing but the store procedure with the parameter. You can have more than one parameter. So you can simply go and simply say, let's say at the rate, and then I will say department. If you are going to specify the department also, so you will get the by ID. You do not need to specify like this. But let's say you may want to add the more filters, or for some other kind of logic you may want to use this. So I will say department, and then the data type will be varchar and this, and then you can add the filter like this, and department is equal to at the rate department. Okay, so this is how you can add this, the way you want to build the logic. You can build the logic, you can pass any number of parameters, there is no limit, and you can use those parameters as a kind of value in the store procedure, but you are supposed to pass those many parameters. you are supposed to pass those whatever the number of parameters you will define. You are supposed to pass value for all those parameters, right? So here we pass two parameters since we have two parameters created at the time of defining the store procedure. Now let's say I want to take the output. Ideally, store procedures are not to return the value, but yes, there is a way to return the value from the store procedure by specifying output parameter. See, by default, the whatever the parameter we will specify, that is the input parameter. Let's say I would like to get the designation, so I will say designation. Okay, and then type will be varchar, but this will be output. This will be output parameter. So I'll specify exclusively here for this parameter is the output type parameter. Then here I am going to use this the output parameter in the select command to store that value. So select, I will say then okay, just keep consider this is a column in the database designation, right? Here execution process remains same. You will pass the department ID, sorry, department name, and then employee ID. You do not need to pass anything for this designation because it is going to return, or that value will be given by the store procedure execution. So here the return value you must be, or you need to store in the variable to see the output. Okay, so this will just give you the a value, but you will not be able to see since this is the output parameter. So just define one variable here. So how to define the variable? So I will say declare and at the rate then desi, then type is varchar, and then I will say 100. Okay, this is what the data type, right? Once the parameter is defined, meaning the variable is defined to get the value or to store the value, you can catch that value at the time of execution. Okay, so here we will pass the variables, meaning the parameters. After the parameter, immediately after the parameter, you are supposed to say at the rate desi is equals to, and what it is going to return. So this designation it is going to return, and this will be the output, right? So here now your this parameter will, or this variable will have the value which is returned by the store procedure. You are supposed to execute all these two commands at the same time, meaning by selecting all lines. Then I can say, okay, there are different ways to print this. This is completely depends on the RDBMS. So you can select all these statement together and then you can say execution. Now let's discuss the benefits, right? So how it improve the performance, we discussed. The store procedures are compiled, so every time compilation is not going to happen, and the code is cached in the database, so reducing the query execution time, right? If same query executed by the many peoples, every time the compilation is going to happen, but if you are using a store procedure, compilation will not happen again and again. That will save a time. We can write the dynamic queries again, that will save a time. Then it reduces the network traffic by executing the multiple SQL commands in a single cell or in a single unit, we can say. Then if we talk about the security, it prevents the SQL injection and even it can control the access for the specific user. Obviously, code reusability is achieved. We know how we can write the dynamic store procedures using the parameters. So that is nothing but the code reusability. Encapsulations, you can build the business logic inside the store procedure, and that will be completely encapsulated. So the next person will not be able to, or he need not to worry about what the logic has been developed here. Then it reduces the network traffic. Instead of sending the multiple users queries or multiple queries from the applications, a single store procedure can execute all necessary queries within the database. So this is something related to the software applications. Many people can go and use the same function, or they may request the same data, and every time it will go and execute the command. So that will be again a problematic. That will improve, that will drastically increase the load on the database. That can be handled using the store procedure. Then store transaction management allows handling of multiple SQL operations as a single unit, ensuring that the data consistency with commit and rollback. Okay, I never attempted this, but yes, this is again one of the benefit. Improved debugging and error handling. Easier to debug since logic is stored within the database, and it can include the custom error handling and logging. Mean try and catch you can use. That is even possible. So we can say store procedures are widely used in enterprise applications, especially when dealing with a large data set and complex business rules. So I hope this session makes sense for you. You understood what and how you can prepare for the interview. So thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day. Happy learning.